welcome you to the one, the only Hawg Talk podcast, part of the Believe and Buzz radio networks. And you can hear us on all podcast platforms, as well as Buzz to 106.7 in Central Arkansas. So please like, rate, and review our podcast. And we're coming to you live from the Corey Hyman Studios. And I'm your host, Porter Hayes of Sports and Culture Arkansas. Alongside me, as always, is Jacob Davis from Arkansas Fight and Saturday Down South. And all of our live shows are brought to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in Ozark, Arkansas. And our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting sports info. So head on over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV to get the bonus and to get in the action. And we have a special guest that we will bring to you from the Workman's Travel Center hotline. It is Pig Trail Nation's own Courtney Mims.
Hello.
All the way via Florida. Courtney, you've really been put to the ringer. We met at Bud Walton Arena before the women went to the national tournament. So just kind of talk about your time, how crazy it's been, and all the cool things that you've got to experience since being here in Arkansas.
Yeah, well, it's crazy that you say that, Porter. It has been a wild ride since I got here. A lot of people think I have been here longer than I have. You know, when I was talking to someone just the other day, me and Alyssa, who works here with Pig Trail Nation as well, Alyssa Orange, you guys know her very well. But we were talking to some people the other day and they go, yeah, Courtney, like, you know, the year has been so crazy for her. And she was like, she's been here since March, guys. She came in March. So it's kind of the craziest thing to think about because I feel like I've been here so long. And that's also because of the people I've been surrounded by. Hog fans, no joke. I was told before I came here that they're the best, that they truly are the most passionate fan base in all of college sports. And they are not wrong. Everyone who has said that has been accurate 100%. They've been amazing and they've welcomed me in and honestly, you know, have made my time here feel so special already. And also the sports here have made my time here so awesome already too. Because when I came in, so my first week on the job back in March, the men were heading to Tampa. The men's basketball team was heading to Tampa for the SEC tournament. And I got here, did a couple of days here at the station, said, hello, everyone, I'm Courtney. And then they shipped me over to Tampa. So right back to Florida where I came from, got to cover the men in Tampa, which was an incredible experience to kick me off because, I mean, who doesn't want to cover that men's basketball team and everything they were able to do this past season? It's honestly sad that I only got to come in at the end of it. I wish I got to cover much more, but just got to come in at the end there, which was great. I'm glad I got to experience and meet those guys and cover JD and Jalen and all the rest of those guys. Stanley, you know, it was amazing just really to get to know them and cover them. So then that was that. Obviously, the women, I didn't get to cover them as much either, but I was excited to meet Coach Neighbors. I mean, again, every athlete here at Arkansas is so, so special. They're amazing people. And generally, it's really one of the best places in the world. And I truly, truly believe that. But yes, so we covered basketball and then we went straight into the craziness of softball and baseball. And man, oh man, was I excited to cover the softball team this year. And I was talking to you, Porter, and you know this as well. I mean, jumping in and going, okay, here's what they were able to do last year. Can they build off of it? And oh yeah, they did. They definitely built off of what they were able to do last year. And I think what Courtney Deifel is building is again, incredibly amazing. And she deserves a whole lot of credit. I know she never wants the credit. She always gives it to the players and the staff, but what she is doing here at Arkansas, I mean, I believe that softball team, you know, I know that OKC wasn't in the cards this year, but it's going to be very, very soon, if not next year. And so got to cover them, got to go on the whirlwind. That was the softball run, and then got to cover everything with Arkansas baseball, which again was an amazing ride. Got to go to Omaha, and I've never been to Omaha. It was just incredible to go there. I know a lot of people were quite jealous because they said it's just such an incredible place to be, especially if you're a college baseball fan. I don't think people understand what it's like in that town during the College World Series time, but it's awesome. And yeah, I mean, I've really gotten really, really lucky. I have to say, really, really lucky with what I've been able to do so far here in my short time in Fayetteville.
So, what was the first thing when the dust settled? You finally got your bearings straight and got settled in Arkansas. After all this craziness with sport, what was the first thing that when you were able just to kick back? What did you do?
Well, I sat and I just took a breather. My parents actually came to Fayetteville last week. And so they came right after, we were done with Omaha. We came back and my dad and mom came. Now, if baseball, if the baseball team were to get to the championship series, they were going to meet me in Omaha and get to enjoy that as well. But they ended up meeting me here in Fayetteville. And I just kind of spent the week with them and really took it in because you don't understand how cool it is until you just take it, you finally have a chance to just settle down and go, wow, Arkansas isn't just the sports, isn't just, the amazing athletes and all the things that I get to do specifically. It's a beautiful area for the nature. We went hiking. My dad got to see Bud Walton, and he's a college basketball coach. So, man, he was so excited to step into that arena. He said, honestly, one of the best places he's ever been. And he's been in a lot of arenas. So I trust his opinion more than anybody else. He said it was incredible to be in that arena and get to see it, and Razorback Stadium and all of that. You're like, whoa, this is such a beautiful place. This is so incredible. And it just honestly was nice to just take the week and go, wow, I'm incredibly lucky just to be living in an area like this, let alone cover some amazing sports teams.
Yeah, and you're talking about living here. What's it like coming in from Florida, coming to Arkansas? What have you enjoyed the most?
I think I've enjoyed the people. I really do. And a lot of people say that. And I know it sounds cliche, but it truly has been the people. We have such a unique opportunity here in Fayetteville and even Arkansas, the entire state, because where I came from in Florida, you had sports fans, but they were split. You had Florida, Florida State, Miami, even UCF now. I hate to say it, but UCF as well. You were split amongst major universities. So, people were like, yeah, I'm a Florida fan. Yeah, I'm a Florida State fan. But you would ask them, oh, how did your softball team do this year? And they would go, I don't know. I'm just a casual fan. If you ask an Arkansas person how the softball team did this year, they're going to know. They're going to know who the softball coach is. They're going to know who the players are. That's because they care. And they care about every sport. And that is so unique to this state, to this area. And it's really because A, you have one team to rally around, and B, you have no pro team. So Arkansas is the pro team here. And that's an amazing, you can't even explain it to people outside of Arkansas. My dad had to come here to believe it because it's amazing to see how many people rally behind all the teams, all the Razorback programs. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And I think that's been my favorite part, is walking up to a person on the street and being able to talk about how the softball team is doing, how the women's basketball team is doing, and not just talking about, the must bus or what Sam Pittman's been able to accomplish in his short time, as the head coach. And so that's what I think is most incredible, and that people really don't understand unless they come to Arkansas and experience it for themselves.
And for the flip side of that, you getting to cover one program, one team, one. How is that for you, that when you are covering, you get to really put all your focus on this team at this time, or say it's softball and baseball, you're splitting it between two teams at one time, opposed to this team from this program and then maybe four other colleges, like maybe you were doing in Florida.
Yeah, especially when I was in Panama City Beach, because that's where I was before as a sports director at a station there. We had Florida State fans, we had Florida fans, and we had Alabama fans, since, I was in Lower Alabama, and the Panhandle there is what they call it, Lower Alabama. So you had Alabama fans as well. So I had to split my time between going, okay, do we talk about Florida State today? Do we talk about Florida today? Do we talk about Alabama today? And you were definitely going to make one fan base angry over the other. And you always had to think about that. You couldn't really connect with the coaches or the athletes like you're able to do here when your focus is completely on the Razorbacks. I mean, there is something special when you get to just go, yeah, I have a relationship with Coach Neighbors. I have a relationship with DVH, and that's because, or I have a relationship with Courtney Deifel because I am covering their team. I am completely covering your team. My attention is not split between 8 or 9 or 10 other programs or whatever it is, or 8 or 9, 10 other teams. I can focus in and go, yep, today we're talking to the softball program. Today we're talking to this person, and you build a relationship. People always forget that it's so important. These athletes are people too. These coaches are people too. They want to have relationships with you. They want to talk to you. They want to know who you are, as well as, well, you want to know who they are. And so that's the biggest thing that I've noticed in the difference in coverage, is that I'm able to build relationships with these coaches and these athletes that really you don't get to do anywhere else, unless you're actually covering a pro team, and you are the reporter for a pro team. You might get to do that, but this is so unique in the fact that we get to do this for a college program.
And it's really hard to, when you talk about just covering one team and just the teams that I've been, to really not it become personal. You're trying to do the media side of it, but when you, like me, the past 4 years covering all the women's programs that I have, and just seeing how hungry and appreciative they are for the coverage, it's very hard to not, like, as I've told Jacob and past hosts, to really become a fan. So where's that balance lies? Like, when you come here, you're like, holy cow, this is so awesome. But yet you have to kind of remember, well, I'm a newscaster. I'm a sportscaster as well.
I think we are in a unique position where people know that we want the Razorbacks to win. I'm sorry, there's no way, we definitely want the Razorbacks to win, right? We want them to go to the College World Series every year. We want them to compete for a national championship, because we are the Pig Trail Nation, right? We are the people who are covering those athletes, those coaches. So I think it's hard to say that we can completely disconnect that, because again, we are in a unique position where we're covering this program, and we don't have to worry about a Florida State or a Florida in the same state as us being upset that, hey, you kind of sound like you're a little bit one-sided, right? Or you're a little bit on that side. So I think, again, that speaks volumes to the type of atmosphere we're in, the type of coverage that we do. There's a reason that we wear the Razorback red on our Pig Trail Nation polos. It's because we covered the Razorbacks, right? And I think the hardest part for me is especially sometimes realizing that disconnect, right? Is sometimes stepping back and going, okay, I can't get too invested, because it truly does. I mean, losses do hurt. I came from a dad who coached all his life. So I've been brought up where wins and losses, right? Losses hurt, wins feel great. And I think it carries over into the work I do. And so it's been hard for me to kind of disconnect and go, hey, okay, losses, okay, it's really, it's horrible. I don't like it. I don't like when it happens, but we've got to move on, and we've got to look towards the future, and we've got to move on, and look towards this, because it's also hard to not feel a certain way, especially when you get to know these players. I mean, I told Alyssa after the College World Series, I haven't been covering the Razorbacks long, but I hurt, I hurt for those guys. I felt that pain, because you could see it on their faces, and we've been covering them all season long. We've been covering them through the ups, through the downs. I went to Hoover with them. I went to Chapel Hill with them. I was invested. I was invested in what they were trying to do and what they were trying to accomplish. So it definitely hurt, and it didn't feel great, but it's like you say, you have to learn that, okay, wait a second, we can move on. There are great things to look forward to in the future of all Razorback sports. And that's what I always do to kind of realign myself. I go, wait, there's next season, and it's going to be just as good when you look at who these coaches are bringing in and who the guys they have coming back. And that's what I think you have to do in that situation. I know it was kind of a long-winded answer to that.
That's all right. No, you're good.
No, so, we're getting to, down to 60 days, I think, before.
Yeah, like 59.
Yeah.
I think it's on my phone. I think it's like 59, 58.
I'm always constantly, I'm looking, man, is it 59 or 58 days? So what's the feeling around the studio about the Razorback football team coming up?
Oh, we're all very excited. I think I can speak for everyone when we say we're all very excited. I am extra excited, and I know our newest member, Wilmo Claire, is pretty excited too. It is my first football season. I know that's hard to believe. Everyone wants to believe I've been here for a year. I was not here last football season. So I think I'm even more excited because I've been to Bud Walton. I've been to Baum Walker. I've been to Bogle Park. I've been to track and field events. I have not been to a football game in Razorback Stadium. And I think that is super exciting for me personally, for me. But when you look at this Sam Pittman team and you look at what they were able to do last year, you've obviously got to be excited that KJ's coming back. You've got to be excited about the guys they've brought in as well to the program. And I hate when I look at national media and I look at people talking about the Razorbacks. Yeah, people are very excited, and some people are like, "Ooh, watch out, you guys. You have a really tough schedule." And I agree. I think, yes, there is a really tough schedule, and this football team is going to face a lot of challenges because they go through a gauntlet, especially when you look at that schedule and how hard it is and the games they have to play back to back to back. I think that it's going to be a really good season, though. A lot of people would listen to that and go, oh, well, they're going to have a bad season. No, I think it's going to be a really, really good season. It's going to be a test for these guys, especially with how much, adversity they're going to have to face, especially in down the stretch and especially, after the first couple of weeks of the season when, they face, I think it's like they go Texas A&M, Alabama, something like that. And then there are three games are on the road and back to back to back, and they have a bye week in between. But man, that still is tough to do when you're constantly on the road. So I think it's going to be a good season. It's when you look at the games they will play, it won't be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think it's going to be really, really exciting. I'm excited for the games, for the opponents they'll face and the games that they have scheduled so far, and where this season will take us to.
Well, you're going to get a treat. Your first game's against Cincinnati, then you got South Carolina. So, I
know.
It's not going to be the Alcorn State or Nicholls State.
No.
They're opening up with, pretty tough opponent that come from the college football playoffs. So, there's going to be it seems like Arkansas has always had that chip on their shoulder.
They do.
The tough schedule. And to me, I think it's a little bit of laziness by the national media because that's what they've said for the past 3 years. It's easy. You could say that about any team in the SEC West. You have the tough schedule in college football because you're playing in the toughest division, much less the toughest conference. So I guess I say that to say this is just when you've got your coordinators coming back and you've got the continuity, how big of an advantage do you think that's going to give Arkansas this year, knowing that they've got their core pieces? Yes, they've got to fill some holes, but pretty much they got their core pieces back.
Oh, I think that gives them huge confidence. I think anyone would tell you that gives them huge confidence. I even said it a few weeks ago on the radio that I think they are set up better than anybody else because these guys they're getting to gel. They know their coaches. They know, who they're playing for. Sam Pittman is obviously a very, very talented head coach. He's got good assistant coaches surrounding him as well. And guys, when you have an OC and a defensive coordinator coming back, that shows how much they believe in this program and what it can do and where that it can take them. Because any of these guys could have gone somewhere else. Come on. They could have. They were set up where they could have gotten any job that they wanted to, but they chose to stay at Arkansas. And that tells me that they believe in what this program can do. They looked at that gauntlet of a schedule and they said, let's do it. Let's do it. We're ready to attack that. We're ready to face that. And I think that gives you so much confidence that you have all these guys who are sitting there going, we believe in what this team can do this year. Now we have to go and execute it. And Porter, I think you bring up a great point, that chip on the shoulder. If you're reading what the national media is saying about you, I think I just saw 2 articles today that came out and said, good luck, Arkansas, sassily, good luck, Arkansas, have a good time. And these guys are reading that. If they tell you they're not, they definitely are. They're reading it, they're seeing it, and they're laughing. They're laughing to each other and going, they have no idea what we're going to be able to accomplish next year. I mean, I look at the defense alone and I'm excited, right? I mean, we saw it at spring. I'm going, man, this is awesome. Drew Sanders. I don't think, anybody really understands what a get Drew Sanders was for the defense. When I was watching him at spring, I was like, man, this guy's awesome. I mean, Alabama, thank you for having too many, too packed of a defense to give him up, because, man, he is a star. And I don't think people understand that yet, and rightfully so. The national media hasn't sat in practice like we have. The national media hasn't been in those meetings every day, hasn't been with these coaches, with these players. So, yeah, okay, go ahead and underestimate them. Go ahead. I dare you to, because I think you're going to be shocked when the season starts and they take on Cincinnati and they prove a lot of people wrong.
Porter, I told you, man. I told you. She's sharing the same excitement that I have for this team this season.
Thank you, Jacob.
And
I feel like I'm ready to go.
Yeah. There you go.
She's right though, because you have all these transfers, these guys that are coming from Power 5 programs. I mean, I think you have eight of them. Yeah. I mean, you have both offense and defense, but you add the experience, Courtney, and these guys are coming from national championship contenders.
Yep.
And the guys coming from LSU and Troy. They're starters.
Yeah, and there are reasons why they left. And a lot of people go, oh, well, they left because of this. No, they left because they were, third string to, other two guys that are, I wouldn't say much better than them, but I would say is equally as talented, right? Because that's what these big programs are doing. They're recruiting as much as they can. They're bringing in as much talent as they can. So, hey, their loss, our gain. Seriously.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the thing where it comes into play is we're not used to seeing the talent from the transfer portal. We've seen it in other sports where they come in women's basketball and what the softball team does. So I guess this is going to be the first kind of glance of what we're going to be able to witness in football when we get to top-notch transfers. I mean, there's got guys from Georgia, LSU, and Alabama. So I think that's going to be, and I told Jacob last week, my biggest concern is not the defense. I think that's solid, anchored down. Mine was more so if you got KJ coming back, you got a good run game, but who are you going to throw to? Who's that guy that's going to get you that catch on a third down when you need to count on somebody? And that's not proven yet because with Burks going to the NFL draft.
Right.
So to me, if you got concerns at the wide receiver position, you're going to be overcompensating it on the run game. So that was my concern when moving forward, how well because we know in today's game, you're going to have to score 20, 30, 40 points. So it's just from what you've seen at spring practice, I mean, a lot, and that's where I guess, we're all left in the dark, because how secretive college coaches have to be. Practices. What did you get to see on the offensive side of the ball that can kind of reassure fans that they're going to be okay?
Well, I think it's like what you said. I think, when you lose a lot of your wide receivers, you've got to step it up somewhere else. And that is when you come to the run game. I think fans shouldn't be really concerned. I think, and honestly, we don't get to see everything at spring either. We saw the defense be the talking point of spring, and the offense, they really did take a back seat. But I honestly almost think that's what Sam Pittman kind of wanted. You never really get to see a crazy offensive explosion at spring games. And if you do, it's because the coaches have written up plays where they've been like, okay, we're going to show off this guy, and we're going to show off this guy, and we're going to show off this guy. And that's how it's going to be. It's not real. And I hate to say that, but it really isn't. There was a lot of times I went to Florida spring games and I'm like, okay, guys, this is a dog and pony show. Who are we going to show off? What plays have you written for this guy or this guy or this guy? And then come when the season begins, you're like, whoa, wait, that was not what I saw in spring. It's because, it's a kind of, I guess what I'm looking for is it's a kind of enclosed kind of, hey, this is what we're doing, controlled environment, right? So I don't think you can glean too much from spring, or you can really go, hey, because we didn't see the offense show up, that means we're not going to see them show up when it comes to the fall. I don't think that. I think fall camp will give us a little bit more of an idea who's emerging as some of the guys that, hey, KJ Jefferson can trust. I think I saw something the other day where KJ was like, Hazelwood and I have really been bonding a lot. And we've been really doing a lot of work together. I think that bodes well that they're spending time outside of practice. They're bonding. They're doing things. They're training together. They're working on things that they never stop. So they're working on building that relationship, maybe because, hey, we needed a little bit of extra oomph after spring going into fall. And I think building that relationship, that should be a good indicator for fans. Hey, it's going to be okay. I also think that you got to love what Rocket Sanders was doing at spring as well. I mean, he was a big talking point of the day. I think he's going to emerge as a big guy that we'll see in this upcoming season. And I've talked to some other people about it who go, yeah, definitely. He's a guy that we have our sights set on because we know he's going to be a big factor in this upcoming season for the Razorbacks. So I think you have guys there who can do it and can step up. We'll kind of see what happens in the first game. I think fall practice and that first game are really going to be telling to what's going on, what Sam Pittman is doing with that offense. But I trust it. I really do. I think fans shouldn't have anything to worry about. I think if the first two games don't go as well as planned, I still think fans shouldn't really worry much because I think they have guys, they have the talent. It just all has to come together and gel.
And just how much pressure do you think that's on, college football as a whole? You're talking about the close practice and, if they lose one or two games, so, you're a championship contender and you lose that game to Cincinnati, basically your national championships hopes are over with and week one. So, I mean, it's weird that, how much do you think that holds back a team in preparedness because they don't want to show their cards too early? But then again, what does it do to a college coach's mindset of knowing that we lose one or two games? I mean, the rest of the season is just a crapshoot.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. But I think even if obviously you want to go out and win those first couple of games. You want to go out and start off with a bang because it definitely affects the mindset of the players when they say, oh, man, let's say we lost to Cincinnati. Man, we lost to Cincinnati. Now you're going and taking on a South Carolina team and you're like, well, are we going to beat this team? How are we going to do? I mean, it does affect your mindset as an athlete. Losses do affect you. Now, it's how good can this team bounce back from any losses that they might face? How good can they go ahead and say, you know what? It doesn't matter. We're moving past it and we can still do well this season. I think they do have to come out and show that they show basically who's boss. I think that is so important, especially when you look at the mindset for the rest of the season, what teams have been able to do. It's important to win those first couple of games. It truly is. I mean, you look at last year where they had a start like they did and where that led to. I mean, you want to start off strong because it sets you up for success. Yes, there is pressure, especially when you read what media is saying, national media is saying about this schedule, this team. You definitely have a lot of pressure. I would be shocked if one of the players told me they didn't have any pressure on them going into this year. But I think that that's something that we'll see how well they handle it. I think Sam Pittman has trained these guys well enough to handle that pressure. We'll just see come that first game. I mean, really, it could go, one way or the other, and we'll have to see when it comes that first week of the season.
Yeah, and I'm going to wrap it up here. Courtney, what do you believe, where do you think Sam Pittman's mind is at as far as what he thinks his team can do this season?
Oh, I think he thinks they can do a lot. I think he manages his expectations. I think that's very smart to do. I don't think he's going out and telling people we're going to win a national championship. I think he thinks that's always a possibility with every team. Come on. I mean, that's always a possibility when you have a team like he does that is talented enough. You have to think, hey, our goal is to win a national championship. But I think he manages his expectations. And I think, honestly, he thinks that they can do better than they did last year with a better record. And I think that they can get back to a bowl game, that they I don't want to say that they can do even better than that because I don't want to, put anything out there. I'm a little superstitious, but I think that they can I think that they can do better than last year. And I know that's a bold statement. I know that's a bold statement based on what they did last year and what they were able to accomplish. But I do think that he thinks they can do better than last year. I mean, what coach wouldn't? You look at that team, you look at the talent you have, you look at the coaches you have, the coaching staff. When we talk to Sam, and you guys might feel this too, I always feel like he's so calm, cool, and collected that there's no nerves, that he'll answer any question you have for him. And that's just because that's who he is. But I also think that's because there's an element of confidence that he has in this team, this program. And I'm not saying they're perfect. He identified what they need to work on in spring. He came out and said, here's what we need to do for fall. Here's what we need to do. Here's what we need to work on. So he's not saying they're perfect, but I think going into fall, we're going to see a Coach Pittman that says, yeah, I think this team can do a whole lot when it comes to success and winning games and having an even better record than they did last year.
Well, Courtney, we really appreciate your time. I mean, stepping away from the studio to come be on the podcast. So, we'll end it there. But again, always welcome on the show. And hey, good luck to you getting to witness your, and cover your first football season.
Oh, I'm so excited to step into Razorback Stadium. That's not a concert setting, because the first time I went into it was Garth Brooks, which was awesome. Don't get me wrong. If you were there at that concert, you know how awesome it was. But I'm excited for football. It's like you're kind of walking into a stadium and you're like, this is not what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a Garth Brooks concert. I'm supposed to be stepping into the stadium for the first time, and there's supposed to be a football game that's played in, 2 hours or an hour or whatever it is. But
at least you got a hog call. They did do the hog call.
They did do the hog call. I was excited. I learned it. I'm good. I've done it multiple times now. I've shown my friends. I've shown my family. I love calling the Hogs. It's a good one.
Well, that's going to do it for segment number 1. After the break, we're going to talk about some, possibly conference realignments with the new college football landscape and what that could possibly do for other sports. But again, we want to thank Pig Trail Nation's Courtney Mims for coming on with us, and we will catch you after the break. And we want to welcome you back to another live show of the Hawg Talk podcast. And before we get started in segment number 2, we are going to welcome our new sponsor to the Hawg Talk podcast. It is Camelot Exteriors, based out of Norman, Oklahoma. I've been doing a lot of direct TV work, and there's been a lot of hailstorms come through the Fort Smith area. So anybody who needs any roofing exterior needs in the Fort Smith area, be sure to reach out to Camelot Exteriors at 833-799-7663. And Jacob, I guess what we'll start with that, we alluded to it before the break, and something that just didn't even cross my mind until we just now started. But, there's going to be a super conference alignment coming. And where do you think really, because we already got OU and Texas coming to the SEC. I mean, do you think this is going to be like a monopoly game between the Big Ten and the SEC to see what kind of teams they can get in each conference? I mean, where do you see the Big Ten and the SEC? And biggest question is, who's going to get left behind, in your opinion, when all this goes down?
Yeah. So, man, this has gone really fast. It is going so fast that you can't keep up with it. But it's weird. I always think the SEC is going to be the bigger brand than the Big Ten, because obviously you've got the northern teams and you've got Ohio State and you've got Michigan. They're bringing in the former powers of like USC and then UCLA. Obviously, they're two storied programs. But then you think about the South and the teams that you have, and you think it's like college football North versus college football South. And it's like you're gonna have it's weird. It's really crazy. But then you have like UCLA. At some point you think maybe they're gonna have to travel all the way to Rutgers for a 11 o'clock kick. It's just I don't think that would ever happen. Just because if we do go to two mega conferences, it's gonna be where I don't think anything's really gonna change besides the name of the conferences. You're still going to have the schedules. You're still going to have your non-conference games where you're going to fly but I think it's going to be more regional. You're going to have your two big conferences or maybe three big conferences, but you're also going to be regional. So it's going to be a weird thing, Porter, and it's going to be something we're going to have to get used to be honest. But I don't know what your thoughts are, but it's going to be weird. I haven't really put my mind around it all because it's happening so fast, like I said. But I feel like you're going to see – I think you're going to see football in the South be more powerful than the football teams in the North.
I see college football finally starting the puzzle pieces of breaking away from the NCAA.
Yeah.
I see college football finally modeling and getting to model after the NFL when it comes to a marketing standpoint. I mean, we're in August. We're always hearing about free agency or, from the team wins the Super Bowl up until next season, there's always some kind of news when it comes to the NFL. They're the best when it comes to marketing and always making how they time the draft, how they time everything that they do. There's not really too much that goes on that somebody is always talking about the National Football League. And I think when the college football landscape gets to where they're going to go, I think that's what's going to happen. You're going to have we're already talking about it year round kind of to begin with since the transfer portal and then NIL. But I think it's a really good thing for college football. And here's the thing, and people who say that, well, it's turning NFL, but whether you like the NFL or not, it's still watchable. It's still the most popular sport in America. And if you get every single game, you talk about these 11, and that's the thing that I laughed about the most is everybody was talking about these UCLA games. And I mean, what do you think about West Virginia going to the Big 12? I mean,
right.
I mean, they had to do the same thing, travel way across. There's no difference between West Virginia going and playing TCU opposed to now UCLA and USC going and playing. I mean, USC played Notre Dame, almost every year. So they're going to be used to it. And we're not playing in the 1800 no more where they're driving a train across the Rockies. I mean, you're playing, you're on a charter jet. You're going 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 at the most, so and with how they plan now, you could leave out on a Tuesday and you get 2 days of practice in and you're ready to go. So my biggest thing is with all these conferences, where's all this TV money going to go? Where's all these TV rights going to go? When are these games going to be played? But also the biggest thing is you got to realize the NCAA is a business. And with the name, image and likeness and all this transfer portal stuff, they were like, okay, you're going to do this. Now we're going to make more money off of the college football landscape. And I think that's where they're going with this. Y'all want to make money. Okay. We're going to let you make your money, but we're going to form these super conferences and we're going to get our money back from, because they're still recuperating from COVID, all these programs. And now with the popularity with all the other secondary sports, everything's relied on football. So I think it's well played. I think it's going to be a very good thing when it comes to, because like I said, we talk about the South, but I think when it comes to it, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame football, I think the Northeast is really the only place in the country that kind of gets lost out opposed to the Pac-12, but they play their games so late. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a more national. I don't think it's going to be regional. I think they took the regional aspect out of it when UCLA and USC went to the Big Ten, but I think it's going to be cool when it comes to I seen one where they got these 4 big super conferences and it's all big tournaments. Like everybody, you're going to play a SEC tournament or a Big Ten tournament. The top 2 teams out of that play for the Big Ten championship. And it's almost like a college World Series format and how the bracket goes. And it's just every game's going to matter even more now. And that's where it's going to become harder is because, we just talked about when Courtney was on, what happens when you go 0-2? Well, if you've got 15 teams in your conference and you start off 0-2, where does that put you?
Yeah. And that's part of the deal we're going to have to look at. Like where, like you're already in a hole, you're going to have to reel off 10 straight games, 10 straight wins to still stay competitive in your conference. That's just going to be part of it. And if they do, I like the regional, like the conference deal where the playoffs are, your idea, because you still have the opportunity to say, okay, we have like these next couple of weeks. Maybe if we can just stay in the top 4 in our conference, we can still vie for a conference championship and be able to catapult us into the college football playoffs. I think that's a really good point there. I haven't really thought of that, because you have like maybe the Southeast and then you're matched up with the people in the Southwest. I think that's a really good thought there, Porter. I think that's a good way to look at it. But obviously, just like how we were all entrenched in 16 teams in the SEC and the pod system going, and then the SEC comes out and says, we're not going to do pods. We're just going to do a 16 team, and you're going to do either a 6-3 schedule or what was it, a 6-3-3 schedule or I don't really remember how they.
Yeah, it's something like that.
5-3-2, something like
3-3-5, something. But yeah, you bring up a good point with pods. I don't think that will work because you're still conforming 4 teams.
Yeah.
One section, and it's almost like what's happened now. You're seeing a lot, like look at the ACC. They're doing away with divisions altogether,
right?
Because we've seen a dominance, in the ACC with one division, and almost similar until Georgia. We've seen a Western Conference division, dominance with Auburn and LSU and Alabama. So I think that it's going to be really good. But we got a question or a comment from Richard Wright. And he said, I think it bites for smaller sports, travel like volleyball and such, traveling coast to coast for those. But now we're in an age where volleyball are playing in these, they're playing in these invitationals. Softball is going to the Dominican Republic. They're going to Mexico. Women's basketball, they're going to the Virgin Islands to play. I don't think that – I think, honestly, just the point I just made, when it comes to you're making more money in football, it's going to allow for more of these teams to be able to go play. And, of course, like I said, with the travel, teams that are going to go play in these games, that's why, the SEC, when they had the COVID, they played, and speaking of volleyball, like he said, they play a Friday, Saturday. So they're playing 2 matches in 2 days. So it's not like you're playing a Friday game here and then you got to go across the country to play somebody else the next day. You're playing 2 game sets. And just like with baseball, you're playing 3 game series. Softball's 3 game series. The only one really that you got to worry about is your basketball. I think that's going to be the biggest one because you play 2 times in 1 week. You could look at, just say Arkansas, for example, you could be going to, let's just say Arizona joins the SEC. You'd be going to Arizona on a Tuesday, and then on a Saturday, you got to go to Florida. I think that's where it's going to come into because there's so many games. It's such a taxing when it comes to your conditioning and running up and down the floor in a, the pace of play. I think that's where it's going to come into the biggest play is what we're going to do when it comes to the basketball season. That's going to be the biggest question. Football, you play once a week. You're going to be able, and it's going to give, and this is, let's be real, this is where it's geared toward. All these super conferences is basically college football because when it comes from a generic fan, when it comes from the casual fan, we care about basketball during March Madness, and you care about College World Series that when it comes to baseball. When you're talking about Arkansas fans only watching Arkansas games, they watch it year round. But when it comes to nationally, when you really take interest in it's, I mean, March Madness, the first weekend of March Madness is one of the most popular weekends in sports. So I think that's what we're wanting to do. We don't want those Alabama Mercer games in the middle of November. I think that's going to take away from it. And a lot of the frustration is, what game do we get to watch? And now, like me, instead of having 2 TVs in my upstairs, I'm going to have 3 or 4, because, like, what game are we going to want to watch now? I mean, we could have, Ohio State and Michigan one, then you have Arkansas and Texas, then you got, or OU Texas, Florida. I mean, there's so many games that you're not going to know. Our wives aren't even know we're going to be alive for the next 7 Saturdays when this all comes to fruition.
And the lucky thing is for me, my wife watches all the games with me, because she's just as big as a fan as what I am. Like, football is a driving factor of this nation. Like, if you like you said earlier, you ask anybody, and the most popular sport in America is football. And you look at being able to fill stadiums up and doing hog calls and being able to cheer them on. And there's no feeling like, being able to be in a stadium and being able to watch it from your chair and in your living room. And football is just a driving force in America. And it's not going to slow down. And you can see it, because it's an arms race. We were talking about it. You look back at the time, and even before the super conference talk, it was, man, who can have the biggest buildings? Who can have the best workout, or the best strength and conditioning facilities? Well, who can have the best athletic facilities? And it started getting bigger and bigger. Well, now it's who can have the best conference? Who can put together and field the best amount of teams in a conference now? And who can have the biggest and highest grossing TV contracts? So, I mean, it's football is a driving force in America, and it's not going to slow down.
Well, and another thing is, like, with all this attention being on the transfer portal, where are all these players going? These commitments and decommitments, and NIL, who's getting these deals? NCAA is kind of like, hold on. We're going to start forming. Look, why do you think that? You don't think that in some kind of way they don't already know what teams are kind of going to be aligned with who? I mean, they're waiting on Notre Dame, of course, because Notre Dame always, they wait till the last second, but I think Notre Dame has finally got to that last straw of the money in the stranglehold that your own copyright and your own TV money isn't enough what it could be if you join a conference. And with all this conference realignment, it could be, I know you're Notre Dame, I know you're the Prestige, but it could be one of the things where you either join a conference or you're going to be playing UCA. You're going to be playing some of these schools that are not in these conferences. And I think when it comes down to it, they're going to choose to join a conference. Now, they already kind of play an ACC type schedule. There's been a lot of talk of the Big Ten. I think Big Ten fits them bigger and better. But, we'll see where they lie on where they go. But there is so many questions on what could possibly happen with this college football. And it's a big talking point. And that's the thing. We're going to be talking this for 2 more years and 3 more years until this all goes down. So then they're going to start trickling out TV contracts. I mean, they're playing their hand smart when it comes to how much we're going to be able to talk. And it helps us. It gives us content to really talk about instead of trying to break down 1, 2, and 3 tight end for Arkansas. So it's good news for us. It gives us some talking points. But I kind of want to switch gears to the basketball side of things. And Jalen Williams, he's really been making some noise with the Thunder. He's played a couple of, preseason games. And I know with preseason, it's just to get your guys that summer league some reps. But I'll tell you what, he's been doing what has been advertised. He's not going out and trying to get 25 a game. He's went out there and what scouts were telling me and my buddy Tyler at Sports and Culture was he was the best defensive guy in the draft. So, he's been doing really good on both sides of the ball, and it's really come in. Plus, when you're playing with Chet Holmgren and, you're getting to play with all those guys, it's been – and the other Jalen Williams, of course, it's been really cool to see him out there on the floor.
Yeah, he is just so crisp. His passes are great. I was a big Jalen Williams fan, and everybody knows it. Like, I really thought the world of the guy for the past 2 seasons. But he's doing, like you say, he's doing basically what we all expected him to do. He's not going out there and being an offensive juggernaut, but he's doing the small things that need to be done to go out there and win ball games. Obviously, you're not going to see that every single night in the NBA because I feel like they take nights off, just like, anybody that wants to rest a little bit. But Jalen's going to go out there and he's going to carve himself out a role, whether it's defensively, whether it's out there. Okay, you're going to get a guy that goes out there and gets 6 or 7 rebounds there and keeps you in games. A guy that's going to be able to extend your offense out towards the perimeter too, to kind of open things up. His game fits the NBA style, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to be doing going forward.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that last week. We were talking about the draft, just the amount of power forwards. And when was look at Chet. He's 7-footer. 10, 15 years ago, that'd have been a center. But he's almost like a KD type prototype guy. And one of those things that I like is he's kind of catching a lot of flack for being cocky, but you know what? He's backed it up.
Yeah,
he scored 25 points in his first game, and I think he had 10 and 12 today. They just played and ended up winning today. So, he's backing it up. Again, you're playing summer league, but that's the perfect thing. That's what you're getting yourself ready for this long NBA season. It is a grind, and it's 82 games. So I think Jalen's going to fit in well. He's going to, and guess what? He gets to play 4 hours from home. You talk about the Fort Smith and the tattoo we talked about last week. They're even playing some of their games in Tulsa. I don't know exact dates on that. I posted it on our Facebook page of their tickets. So, you can click on that link, and I'm sure it can tell you. But, hey, Tulsa's just even, it's an hour closer. So, even closer for those that live in Fayetteville and Springdale area. So, if you want to go watch them, you can go, check them in action.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what him and you've got Moses Moody in the pros. He's out there doing summer league. JD Note, he's out there doing summer league. It's great. I think Justin Smith's on the team too. I think there's either 4 or 5 former Hogs in the summer league, but it's really cool because for years it was just Ronnie Brewer and Joe Johnson roaming the NBA. Now Arkansas's got so many guys, and you look around the league and you're starting to see more Arkansas guys. You got the Bobby Portis, you've got Moses Moody, you've had Joe Johnson.
Can't forget about Gafford.
Yeah, Gafford. You forget about him being at Washington. So, and then you've got 3 guys that are potentially first-round prospects this season. So the respect that Arkansas is getting nationally, and then they're getting NBA guys there. Before long, Arkansas is going to have a load of guys. Oh, Stanley Amude, I forgot about him.
You've got 8 total. I remember I've seen a tweet that they put out. You got Isaiah Joe, Moses Moody, Jalen Williams, Mason Jones, JD Note, Stanley Amude, and even they got Dusty Hannis on here. I don't think he's playing in the NBA or Summer League. I know he's playing with Team Arkansas TBT, which we will break that down next week right before their game. And then you got Justin Smith. So they're very well represented. You said it perfectly. There for a couple of years, you had 2 guys. You had Gafford and Bobby Portis. And I think we all got I got tricked big time when I seen they put out the thing where you could possibly go to Golden State. And I was like, holy moly. Then, of course, you got to really look at these you got to look at these names. It's almost like carding somebody now. You got to look at you got to vet their profile. And I think I had a couple of people going with that. So I do apologize for that one. But I think, we're starting to see the talent that Arkansas has. Nick Smith is already projected top 10 pick for next year, maybe even top 5, depending on what outlet you go. So Eric Musselman's starting to build his juggernaut. And again, just like, Dave Van Horn did with the baseball, there's always somebody going to the pros in baseball. You're starting to see that not just they're going on a summer league roster. They're going to make it in the pros. And I think that's the biggest thing is you're seeing the jump between free agent guys or what do they call it, an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing guys get big time deals. And that's where if you're wanting to advance to these Elite Eights, Final Fours, and get a national championship, that's where we're at. You need 3 first-rounders, or you need 3 guys that are going to end up being, first-round draft picks and have your role players. So I'm excited to see again, what we talked about with Courtney, this football season and where this goes. And next week, we're really going to start breaking things down. We're going to talk with some people about Team Arkansas TBT. They played the 16th in Omaha, so we're going to break that down and then really deep dive into the football season and get us, because we're getting closer. And I tell you what, this is the one of the, I can't believe it's already July. We're already halfway, way past halfway through the year. And, fireworks started. We all know that the Hootens magazine is going to come out. That's the official start of high school football. So, hey, it's good. It's exciting time.
Yeah. And 247, I mean, just kind of talk a little bit. 247 Sports put out an article today about the toughest places to play in college football. And we were talking about the Razorback Stadium earlier and the Hawg Calls and how cool it is. And what Courtney was saying, how cool it is and neat it is to go inside Razorback Stadium, and how excited she is. So you have this unprecedented 7-game home schedule, never been seen before. And 247 Sports said today that Arkansas is the 9th toughest place to play in all of college football. And that to me showed a lot of respect towards what Sam Pittman in Arkansas is doing right now in the college football landscape. Because you think about last year, just 2 seasons ago, when Sam Pittman began this journey as a Razorback head coach, nobody believed in him. Look, I was one that was skeptical. I'm thinking, I love Sam and I love what he did at the University of Arkansas as offensive line coach. But we're hiring an offensive line coach that's been a lifer assistant as a head coach, and he's proven me wrong. And I love the guy. I will vouch for the guy anytime. But Sam has done an amazing job, and seeing Arkansas get the respect of having the grand old lady Razorback Stadium up on the hill, being feared once again, and you've got 7 games. You're starting out with Cincinnati. That place, I'll be there. I'll be there for that game. That one is going to be a crazy atmosphere because you're not opening with a Portland State. You're not opening with a Eastern Illinois or Alcorn State in Fayetteville. You're opening with Cincinnati, a college football playoff contender, or not a contender, a participant last year. That place is going to be loud. It's going to be 99 heckin' degrees outside, but it's going to be loud and it's going to be crazy. And then you got the next week against South Carolina. It's going to be wild. And just imagine if Arkansas takes care of business the first 4 games of the season, and they're undefeated, and Alabama's undefeated, ranked number 1. College football, a college game day could be in town that week. And last time every time a college game day or a game day show.
The SEC when they were there for the Texas game.
Yeah, that was wild.
It took me 45 minutes to an hour to drive around the stadium, and this was the night before the game. Yeah, it's electric, and I think that's the thing. You're talking about the stadium deal. I mean, it's always been intimidating, other than the final years of oh goodness gracious, Chad Morris. Yeah. But it's always been intimidating. But I think it shows now. Like you said, it is all about respect, and I don't think that this was pandering. I don't think this was just a sunshine pump. It is a very intimidating place. It's because we want Donald W. Reynolds Stadium to be just like how Bud Walton Arena is. Yeah, they want I think it was McElroy, Greg McElroy said that was the toughest place, the loudest place he's ever played in. So you want to bring that energy because you get a team to where they're doing false starts, they're having to call timeouts. You're using that as an advantage, and that stadium can definitely bring that electric energy, and that could be the difference between winning some of these games that are 50-50. So, yeah, definitely 9th. It's hard to, really say that, because you're looking at Penn State, Texas A&M, Oregon. I guess because I've not watched them, but Oregon, I think, is kind of overrated in a way. LSU at night, Ohio State, the Horseshoe, of course, Neyland Stadium, Georgia, and then Clemson's number 1. But I don't think Clemson should be number 1. It's an intimidating. Really? No, but I don't think they're as intimidating as it used to be.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what you got to look at. That you're going to go into this game, and it's a tough place and environment, and just what I've seen the past couple of years, it's not the environment. Like you look at Georgia, 11 o'clock kickoff against Arkansas, and they were packed.
Yeah.
We thought that was going to be, a point where we could use that to our advantage. Oh, they're not going to be there at 11 o'clock. You've seen it.
They sure were.
and then you've seen they jumped up to a 21-0 lead. So, I mean, you see again how the SEC reigns supreme in any kind of thing when it comes to rankings and sports. But seeing Arkansas at number 9 and the fans really being able to be like, oh yeah, and it's true. And so they are getting the respect, but I guess that's going to do it. Jacob, you got any kind of final thoughts before we wrap it up in the next couple of minutes?
No. So, man, I think as we're getting closer and the excitement is getting there, like there was points in that interview with Courtney that I was getting chill bumps on my arms because I'm thinking of how exciting I am. Like she was sharing, how the transfers and the impacts of these transfers are going to be for this Razorback football team. Guys, there is true excitement. That's what I'm going to end on tonight. There is true excitement and something brewing in Fayetteville that we haven't experienced in almost a decade. Like the excitement that we had during the Petrino years, like I think it's returning. The Nut years, I think it's returning. And I'm not going to I want to temper my expectation because I said something last week. It was like 11-1. I'm still going to go with that bold prediction for now. But there's pure excitement right now. Let's be prisoners of the moment and enjoy this thing one day at a time, because what we have right now is special. And we're kind of going back into what we had just 10 years ago, where it felt every single Saturday was important and it was special. And I feel like this right now is an authentic moment as we've ever had as a fan base. And I think it's going to be even more special this season, being able to watch this team.
Yeah, the environment in Fayetteville is like a volcano. It's just, I mean, it showed spurts. You've seen spurts in every season and every sport to where you're like, okay, the top's going to blow off.
Yeah.
Well, other than basketball and their Elite 8 runs, the top really hasn't blown off yet.
Right.
If Alabama comes in here and it does, I mean, Arkansas could have one loss or two losses. If Alabama comes in here and Arkansas beats Alabama, the top is going to blow off. I mean, the people who were at the Texas game thought that was something. You let Alabama come in here and you win that game, the top's going to blow off. And now
it will never be the same.
It won't, and it's going to be hard. I mean, especially if you say both teams are going to be undefeated coming into that game, and you have the atmosphere where SEC Network and College Game Day is fighting over, no, we want to come there. I mean, it's going to be an electric atmosphere, and I think it's going to be twice what we seen at Texas last year, because last year it was Texas. It was just the rivalry and the fact that SEC Network was here. Arkansas is finally working their way up. Now you've got a team that's poised. You got your coordinators back, your head coach back. Alabama comes in here undefeated and Arkansas is undefeated. You're going to see something that's bigger. And if they were to be fortunate enough to win that, what we've seen it carry on, what we've seen this whole program, athletic program, Hunter Yurchek got athletic director of the year. They finished 7th in the Challengers Cup over the whole. They were the second team in the SEC. Florida was ahead of them. We're seeing something that you're talking about special, but I've already seen the specialness of it. I think the specialness of it is here, what we've witnessed in all the programs, what Sam Pittman's done with the football team, what Eric Musselman's done to the basketball program, just there alone, bringing both of your key marquee programs from the bottom back to the top is special enough. And then you bring in the soccer, the softball, the gymnastics, the women's basketball, everything on top of that's just adding sprinkles. And I'm telling you what, if the football team goes 9-10 wins this year, the excitement is going to be like no other. There's going to be all these sports shops around Fayetteville. They're going to be empty. There's not going to be any shirts left on the shelves because everybody's going to want to go buy these shirts and be at these games. And it's going to be something that they have not. I mean, we can rival with the 70s and what happened, but I don't think it's going to be matched to anything. And we're already there. I think when it comes to the atmosphere of the fan base, I've never witnessed this before. So it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of the Hawg Talk podcast. Again, we want to thank Bet Online. We want to thank all of our sponsors, our new sponsor at Camelot Exteriors, and we really want to thank Pig Trail Nation's Courtney Mims for joining us. And that will do it for another live episode of the Hawg Talk podcast. We will be back next week.
Go Hogs.